I want to talk about Mill Creek. It's very tough. I began these remarks about poverty and the world, the fact that no human agency can put out fires in California or British Columbia because of the way we treat the environment. Atlanta, where I was at a couple months ago, they had 31 days supply of water left to the whole city. When the earthquake comes, this is going to be waterfront, just for those of you who are quite complacent about that. When BC falls into the water, we have no contingency for that. The price of food has started going up for the first time in 75 years. So there are things that, if you want to, if you listen to CBC, I suggest you take medication when you do it. You're afraid of that particular scenario. I love CBC. I love CBC. But having said that, the Lord comes to redeem. And the Lord comes to give hope. And the dangerousness of the Lord's presence amongst us, as David prayed, and the menacing nature of that is like the morning star which appears in the night sky. It comes to promise that the darkness will be banished. And that as soon as, and it's one of the terms used to describe Jesus, that because he's come, and because he suffered and died and risen from the dead, that there is a progressive sense in which, because we have hope in his resurrection, that death and darkness is done. And for some of us, my friend, is the prophetic voice of the generality of stop, let's look. For some of it's piece by piece. For some of it's that marvelous soliloquy that you gave, and it was like Shakespeare, in which you said, this is what I'm called to redeem, who I'm called to. That's my calling, and that's where I am. We are called to very different ways of looking and holding and being held by God in all these things. But to have ended our time by talking about those things and in the way that you talked about, John, drew attention to that, was just really important for us to hear. And much better way of framing it than the macro way in which I said, we've got all this wealth, aren't we in trouble? Particularly your image about what color is the bottle of water I drink. When that is a major event in most people's lives. We've been talking, by the way, for 3 years about trying to give people decent water. And 40% of the people that live in small communities in Vancouver Island don't have safe water. Vancouver Island. Storage, conduit, or the actual stuff itself. No. And it's very interesting that Christ called himself living water. And all the reasons for that. So in the journey that we entered in this afternoon, I want to thank you so very, very much that you were challenged both personally and mightily in what God has given you. And you're living that out in a strong sense of community, a strong sense of the holiness of God, the mystery and the wonder of God, but that you're also being drawn to the fact that you have larger challenges far beyond who you are. That encompasses the churches, that encompasses leavening and modeling, to a whole cluster of churches, 178 strong across Western Canada and far beyond that. Talk to Dennis about the notion. I was so struck by some of the images that I wonder, and Pat Flayton and some of us will talk about this maybe for assembly, that maybe we just offer an afternoon where we just say God's stories in the lives of his people, and offer 15-minute slots where people tell a story. And there's a little byline in the promo that says, this is about First Nations work, this is about single moms, this is about short-term ministries, this is just, and we just tell stories. Because I believe that God is faithful. That's why we're drawn together in this. And that when we tell stories of God's faithfulness, I could never understand parts of the Psalms. I could never understand the children of Israel. I kept repeating, the God of Abraham, who took us out of the land of Egypt. I said, enough already. We repeated this several times. The fact is, when we repeat his faithfulness, in fact, we prepare ourselves to expect his continued faithfulness. And that's what this afternoon did for me, for which I'm deeply grateful. Thanks be to God.